You just work, though. Like, you never stop.
Right. There's a fine line between being a pussy and listening to your body. Why not err on the side of pushing it a little too far?
And the reason why it might be important to do it is because of the mental side of things. We don't even really know how strong that is.
I think that mental piece of it weighs so heavily on the physical point. If you give in mentally, then you're just screwed. Your mind is so much more powerful and takes over so much more of what your body can actually do. The body is meant to preserve and survive. You're pretty fucking safe if you sit on the couch and do nothing. I told her, I said, all right, if we're gonna have kids, one of us is gonna stay home. I'll be glad to stay home. But the problem is, we're gonna have fucking retarded kids.
I know. I've met some of your kids, and they're super smart. So
that's my wife. You guys like controversy, right?
A little bit, yeah, we're rolling.
So you were born in like 1942, right?
I was born in
somewhere around there.
1920 to be exact. But who's counting? Who's counting?
This is the manliest our podcast has ever been since you're here now.
Andrew,
yeah,
I love you.
With a weighted
too,
with a weighted vest. How much extra weight you got on there?
Enough
to make a difference?
Yeah. Well, I'm still probably not as heavy as this guy. Even
Probably
with the weight vest.
Whether he's eating
Even
or
with the weight,
he can get a lot of control every once in a while. We worry about him over here, right, Andrew?
Or how many juices he's had.
Yeah, that's where. Yeah.
What kind of juice you talking about, though?
You tell me. What kind of juice? I've been hearing the podcast lately. A lot of trend talk.
Yeah.
I have been enjoying the trend talk.
I don't know.
Makes you
It's
wonder.
always a constant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So anyway, you took exception to a recent podcast. We've been meaning to have you on lately. We've been talking about it, but then I guess something popped up and you got kind of heated. So what's going on?
Well, I've been listening for a while. I've been around for a while, but I started listening to just some. All right, let me break it down. Okay. Here's, since it was Mother's Day yesterday, right? My mom would always know like when to come in a room and just bust us. Right? I grew up in a large family. I'm like, how the hell do you know when to come in?
Yeah.
She's like, it's pretty easy. It gets real quiet. And then there's a lot of laughing. She's like, it's easy. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah, as soon as it's quiet with kids, you know something bad's going on.
So I'm like, here it's like, shit, you guys look around, you got penis pumps, you got all this. I gotta protect my backside around here.
You do.
So, I'm like, all right, you get a lot of sandal talk and stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Just need to check in with you guys, make sure everything's all right in here. Make sure things are good. Make sure things are good.
We're working on it.
The latest one yesterday, it came out today. Listening to on the way in.
Yeah.
Talking about recovery.
Recovery. Fine. All right.
Dude, you're someone who, like, you just work, though. Like, you never stop.
Right. Duh.
That's why he's on the show.
There we go.
Duh.
Still standing.
Like shit. And I don't have sandals on. I'm standing on some rocks. Okay. But, no sandals. So it's like, I'll leave those to the higher power over there to wear.
I'm barefoot, bro.
No, Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about Jesus. Higher power. Shit.
I thought he was talking
You
about
went
me for
right
a second. Yeah. A little bit of narcissism.
Maybe
man.
maybe there is some juice going on there. I listened to that trend talk.
Yeah.
So back to the
You're listening to recovery and you want to drive
listen
right off
to
the
recovery.
road.
And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, I gotta talk to those guys. We've been talking about doing this forever. I'm like, Jesus, okay. What the hell? There's a fine line between being a pussy and listening to your body. Right? So where's that line? How do you know the line?
Hard to tell.
Very hard.
The line gets pushed over time.
Okay. Yeah. Pushed which way?
Ideally away from being a pussy.
Okay. So how do you know unless you push it?
Exactly. You don't.
Exactly. So why not err on the side of pushing it a little too far And then to find out, hey, you know what? Because we had a talk probably, I don't know, 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling you about like some deadlift things I was doing. And it's all of a sudden my back just boom. I could tell that wasn't just like, okay, I got to be careful here.
Yeah.
Right. And we had the discussion.
Maybe you should just deadlift every day. First
No.
thing when you get up, 500 pounds, just try it every day.
Yeah, well, you could. You probably have. But the point was, I'm looking at it going, okay, my body's telling me, kind of be careful with it. And you were like, well, you know, sometimes, you know, your body, you push it a little bit and your body just, you know, needs to, you know, your mind needs to catch up to your body going, okay, maybe you just went a little too far, but it needs to basically know that that's okay.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, fuck. Goddamn, Nsima caught me being a pussy on this one. So I kind of pushed it. I still took it a little bit easy, but, you know, I stuck to my plan, just went through.
Yeah.
And sure as shit, a couple of days, it's kind of like that, you know, it went away.
Sick.
So, you know, you called me out on it, so now I got to call you guys out on it.
What did we?
It'd be like-
I'm trying to go back to it. Did we tell the guy to totally back off? Was it the workout addiction one?
There was a lot of.
There was a lot.
Yeah, sometimes you got to just, you know, take it easy. Listen to your body, and just kind of, you know, maybe not go in for a day or two.
Yeah.
I don't buy that.
And you were like, what?
I don't buy that.
Well, it's a suggestion. It doesn't mean that we do that.
Yeah, we're team no days off, man. We're talking to we're talking to normies, man.
Dude, I am the normie.
I'm joking.
Oh man, I
I'm
don't
like,
know.
I'm not an influencer.
You're not a fucking
I'm
normie.
not.
see.
No,
Shit,
no, Cassey. When we get into the shit that you do, people are gonna turn this shit off because they're like, he's too much. You're also wearing like a 20
Well, I
pound
am
vest.
too much.
As we're talking on this episode.
My point exactly. I'm like, okay, I can stand on rocks, but I don't see any you motherfuckers wearing a weight vest.
For context, guys, so Cassey will work like you walk around the whole day while you're working, and you're
Yeah.
wearing that for like what, 6 of the hours or the whole day?
Yeah, usually. I mean, some days, you know, I wake up and I'm like, I might be a pussy today.
Yeah.
And then I put on the vest.
And
then I'll wear it for a while, right? And realize, okay, I'm not a pussy.
There we go.
And then if I feel my body start to tell me, you know, it's digging into my shoulder, it fucking sucks, I'll start to pull, and then I'll go, no, I'm not going to be a pussy. Just saying, sometimes you got to just, you know, push through it.
Yeah.
I agree. You know, I think, you know, when we talk about recovery, we're trying to give people an honest view of, you know, how they can get better, right? Because
Yeah.
you can train a lot, you can train often, and you could be at some point kicking yourself in the ass and just sort of chasing your own tail.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you give yourself a little break on whatever it is that you're doing, sometimes you could advance a little further. But we could also back that up a little bit and say, well, that doesn't mean you don't have to go to the gym at all, or that doesn't
Right.
mean that you
Right.
can't enjoy. There's no reason why you can't do some kettlebell swings on a day off. There's no reason why
Yeah.
you can't do some med ball tosses, maybe some farmer's carries, whatever the hell it is that you enjoy. There's no reason why you can't do it.
Right.
And the reason why it might be important to do it is because of the mental side of things.
Yeah.
And the mental side of things, we don't even really know how strong that is.
Yeah.
We know what the strongest bench press of all time is, approximately, the strongest squat, the fastest 100 meter. We know all these things, but we don't know what the limitation of the human mind is. Like, and we hopefully will never really,
Right.
really figure that out. And so I think you have a good point there of like, yeah, you don't want to be a pussy because you
Right.
don't want to. That one little slip up, that one little banana
Yeah.
peel could be the thing that leads you off track for a while.
Absolutely. And you know, that's kind of my point. And I see you guys doing it, you know. And for the people that don't know, we give each other shit all the time.
Oh, yeah,
it's not,
of course.
But it's, you know, it I think that mental piece of it weighs so heavily on the physical point to where if you give in mentally, then you're just screwed physically, you know. And it doesn't mean that you have to stay with the same plan. You know, it's like when I look at it and go, okay, you know, today I plan to do boxing and then work, and then if I'm doing upper body, you know, I'll have it kind of laid out in my mind, but I'll change based upon when I get in the gym, how I feel, you know, and what makes sense. And then if you're in there, you're going to tell me something totally different, fucked up, and it'll be the right thing for that day. But I think your mind is so much more powerful and takes over so much more of what your body can actually do. You know, I think we talked about it too. You know, I think the body is meant to preserve and survive. That's what our natural instinct is, not to grow and to thrive. And I think it's just one of those things where it's a self-protection, you know. You're pretty fucking safe if you sit on the couch and do nothing. You know, long term, you're going to be fucked up. But the short term, that's kind of your safety mechanism. Well, how the fuck do you get stronger and better and be able to adapt and come, you know, a stronger person for the long term? You got to push it. But what's that limit? You know, what's that fine line between, you know, preserving or being a pussy?
Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't know, I think, until you push it. And then hopefully it's not too far that sets you back for, you know, 6 months. But even then, you know, there's still shit you can do, you know?
And those, don't get me wrong, it sucks having an injury that like puts you out for 6 months or maybe puts you in surgery or some shit like that, right? And I think that's happened to all of us here, probably, right? But you do learn something from that. Like when my meniscus tore, I learned kind of what to pay attention to in my knee at the time. And I've learned how far I probably shouldn't push certain things. Haven't made that type of mistake since. Yeah. And when you, like you're saying, you know, if we do, it's hard to trust your feelings at the beginning when you're just starting all this shit because it all kind of sucks. Like it all hurts. Everything's always sore. Yeah. And if you're like, ooh, it feels a little bit tough, then you won't ever push it to the point you're talking about where you can really make some real progress. Yeah. Feelings fucking suck.
Yeah. That's why I just don't have many.
I love it.
You got to shut those feelings down.
Ask my wife. She'll tell you. She's like, do you have any feelings? Huh? Maybe a couple somewhere.
You're like, this question seems like a trap.
Yes.
We've been here before. Don't say anything.
I've fallen into that trap too many times. Too many times.
Have you felt like you've kind of overextended yourself a bunch of different times in your life? You have like 4 kids? 5 kids. I lost track of one of them. You got 5. You have
Me
5.
too.
You have 5. You have 5. Yeah, it took you a second to answer. You got 5 kids, and you work very hard, and then plus every morning you're boxing and you're lifting and things like that. You just here and there you feel like you know overextended yourself a bit, or do you feel good?
You know, I think that kind of falls in that same category of knowing what that balance is. And, you know, different points in your life obviously are easier than other to fill in balance.
When the kids are little.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when the kids were little, you know, it was much harder. You know, I was younger too, and trying to establish a career and do things like that. It's, you know, it's a tough time. So, you know, for all the people out there that are like trying to figure out, okay, how do I balance this? Well, sometimes there's just not, you know, and you just have to do.
You're just not home.
You know, I always made a point that, I mean, when my wife and I got married, first of all, finding the right person is so key. And, you know, when we first decided to have kids, you know, we sat down and had the discussion of, all right, I don't want to have kids that I have to have somebody else raise. That's not our plan going into it. You know, I understand shit happens and you have to adjust, but we weren't going to start it out by going, okay, both of us are going to work and we're going to, you know, have a nanny or someone else try and do that. We were like, okay, let's figure this out. We want to have kids. We want to raise them. But we need to do it. You know, so my wife and I, we sat down and we go, okay, you know, after a couple of years, all right, we want to have kids. And this is get ready with the bleep button, Andrew.
Just let it
But
flow.
this was the real talk.
Yeah.
I told her, I said, all right, if we're gonna have kids, one of us is gonna stay home. She's like, okay. I'm like, it's gonna be tough financially. We're gonna have to figure it out. I said, I'll be glad to stay home. But the problem is, we're gonna have fucking retarded kids. I said they're gonna be into every sport imaginable. They're gonna have a lot of time, to get better, and we'll have a fucking blast.
I know. I've met some of your kids, and they're super smart. So
that's my wife. That's
Made
my
the right
wife.
decision.
You gotta balance. You gotta balance. Know your weaknesses. Know your strengths. I'm like, we'll have fun. We'll have great kids, but damn, they are going to be. They're going to be on the spectrum. But that was that. I swear to God, that was a serious conversation, and that's how it basically went down. Okay, so you're staying at home, Liz, and I'll go out and earn the income, and knock on wood, she really hasn't had to work, but we've had to make sacrifices. It's like, you want the best for your kids, but maybe sometimes the best isn't just financial. Maybe it's, spending more time with them and being able to, kind of coach them and help them through life too. And, I mean, I like my kids. I think they turned out good.
Yeah.
And I think they're really good people, and I'm proud of every single one of them on, how they've, chosen to, they still like to come over every Sunday for Sunday dinner.
There you go.
So,
That said a lot.
I'm like, all right, I couldn't have screwed up that bad.
yeah.
Or at
Now
least-
you're a grandpa.
Yes, Mark, thanks for bringing that up. I feel great about that.
But that's a damn cute baby.
Oh, let me tell you that actually was something kind of hard for me to, realize. Was like, holy shit. I mean, I know I'm old, but I'm like,
You're
damn.
like, come on, man.
I'm like, I don't feel like a grandpa.
67 is not that old, man.
85 comes and goes like that.
Wait, so people actually know, how old are you?
I'm not good at math. I'm gonna plead the fifth like O'Hearn with Tren. I'm just not gonna acknowledge it. I mean, if you don't talk about it, it doesn't exist, right?
That's true. Yeah,
Okay.
that's very true.
55
Okay. There we go.
or
Give or take.
85
yeah.
or 35.
How'd you stumble into the slingshot world?
Well,
Give people some of that story.
Okay, quick background. Living in Davis, we pretty much lived there our entire lives, and it was I don't even know how long ago now. 10 years maybe, 11 years. Looking across the street from our house, this new kind of family moves in. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, this guy is fucking meathead like I've never seen. I'm like, what the hell does this guy eat? Turns out it was Mark.
Yeah.
Back in the, I wouldn't say chubby days. You were just, let's just say you were very thick.
Yeah.
Very thick. And there would be people coming in of his house that were extremely thick. So me as a concerned neighbor, I'm just kind of keeping my eye out on things. And then
Like, what is it, a Weight Watchers group over there or something like that?
like what there should be, they'd be making a killing.
Oh, yeah.
But, Bark was, they'd moved in across the street from us. And then I would see Mark, and at that point, you had just bought like an Escalade, I think, after that. So I would see, and granted, I'm not home a lot. It's like I'm working. But my wife's like, have you noticed our neighbor he'll sit in his car for like an hour or 2 hours. I'm like,
I wonder what you would do.
no, I haven't seen that. And then he'd be parked down the street sometimes, sitting in his car for like an hour or 2 hours. I'm like,
Making videos.
I'm like, what the fuck? Exactly. And it turns out, he's on his phone making videos. And then I'm like, all right, I got to check this guy out. What the fuck's going on with my neighbor? So I started looking at some of his videos and I'm like, what the hell? Then I'm more confused. and it turns out, you were just kind of, doing your thing and just going through. And at this point, we hadn't even met. And then I'm not big on meeting my neighbors. I couldn't tell you who my neighbors were.
Same.
But we're out front one day. I was playing catch with my youngest son.
Yeah.
And Mark comes out from the driveway, and he's like, "This is typical Mark. Typical Mark. Hey, you look like you might work out a little." And I'm like, hey, granted, I'm feeling okay. I'm like, man, I go to the gym 3 days a week. I'm constantly busy. He's like, yeah, you look like you might work out a little. I'm like, well, I'm sitting there thinking, God damn, well, I'm not lifting all day like you.
Yeah.
But it was hilarious because I'm like, yeah, I guess compared to you, I work out a little. But so Bart comes over and we start talking for a minute, and he's like, "Hey, I came up with this product." He's like, "You should try it out." I look at him. He showed me the Sling Shot, and at that point, you guys hadn't even had. I don't think you had a delivery or anything. It was just like a couple prototypes.
I think we were shipping on our own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, what's this? I look at it and I'm like, of course, me, a little skeptical. Yeah. And I get it. I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna give this a try. I'm gonna go to the gym, give it a try. And I think it was the next day. It came out. We were playing catch again. You came out. Hey, have you tried that yet? I'm like, God damn! I'd say I did. And I'm like, I don't have shoulder pain. I don't have anything. I said, this is a good product. And he's like, see, Andy, see? And, it turned out, that was the kind of the first introduction. And it was like, I'm like, shit, this guy's got a product. It's actually something of value that I could see, that people would love. And then, fast forward a little bit, a couple months from there, we were talking back and forth and different things. And you guys were, trying to do it out of your garage. And you're like, well, don't you something in distribution? I'm like, yeah, we do third-party distribution. I'm like, here's the address. Just send it there, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's how it started. 10 years or so later, I don't even know how many years. Again, I'm 85. So
when we first started talking, we weren't shipping that many. So I was like, oh no, I think we're good. And then I saw you maybe like a month or two later, and we started messing up orders because we started getting more of them. I don't really know what the problem was, but we were having issues. And then I was telling my wife, I'm like, the guy across the street, my wife's skeptical of everybody.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, let's invite him in so you can talk to him and see him. And like, and then you started having advice, and you were like, well, if you do this is going to, lead to better results. And you're like, I can just take your product and ship it for you for a little while, and you can see how you like that. And then it just kind of naturally went from there.
Right. And at that point, it was like, I'm just helping my neighbor out. Yeah, give a crap about the business side of it. Even though I was starting a business, I'd been in business on my own for about 3 years, and we had done all kinds of different distribution. But it was kind of like it's not to ship 10 orders a day is not gonna impact us. I'm like, well, I don't care. We'll figure it out. And at that point, it was basically one product, and we just. It was, just kind of getting up and running. If it works, cool. And everything just kind of, kept going from there. And at the first point we're in there, I had a whole warehouse full of other people's product that we were shipping. And Mark goes, yeah, I'd say about a year, I just, I can see us just shipping my product out of here and no more customers. And I'm going, okay. I'm like, okay, if we get to that point, I'll fire all my customers. A year later, I fired all my customers.
Sick.
I swear to God. It's
yeah.
like, I'm like, well, I fucking told him I would. So, you know, and at that point, you know, things had kept, you know, kind of progressing with the business. And I could see how dedicated Mark and Andy were to growing the business and how much they cared about the products and how much, you know, blood, sweat, and tears was going into it.
Yeah.
It's like the whole reason one of the biggest reasons I started my own company was to help companies like that needed that help, but they weren't going to get it. You know, if they went out to a typical third-party warehouser, most of them, because I was working for a third-party warehouse before, I wouldn't even look at it unless they were doing over $1 million a year in business. It's just not worth it because the financial side of it, the profit margins are so thin there that you just can't, you know, it doesn't make sense for either side. Yeah. But they're the ones who need it the most. And so that's why it was like, no, okay, you have that mindset, you're going to blow it up. I'm going to be right there with you and help you do that. And sure as shit, you know, fast forward 10 or so odd years, and you guys killed it. And it's not necessarily just because, oh, it's this fad product. It's because your blood, sweat, and tears was in that. Everything that people see, you know, on Instagram, YouTube, you know, of your videos and what you put up, which were entertaining, but it also didn't give a clear picture, really, of you.
Right.
That was a side of you.
It doesn't show the background side of
it. Yeah, it doesn't show, and that's where I think a lot of people get confused too. You know, they'll see things and go, well, Mark just cares about money. Mark, you know, this. I'm like, you don't understand. Half that is a persona joke. That's your wrestling background kind of coming out. What they don't see is the dedication, the hard work behind the scenes that really grows and made the company, I think, you know, what it is. And it's not a fad product. It's not fad products. It's business, and it's a great business based upon, you know, some real inside heart stuff to create products that make the world a better place to live. I mean, you know, it sounds corny on some things, but all the products are great, you know, and they help people. And, you know, just the fact that, you know, I can be part of that and my family's been part of that. I mean, I can't tell you, you know, as much as I give you guys shit, I got to give you props for things to where, you know, you've had my back multiple times and my family's back. And it means a lot. It does. And for the people that, you know, just see one side of you or don't see that, they're missing it. So the people that know you know. And the others that don't, hey, that's their loss. And if they want to have a perception of whatever, that's their thing. But I know the true Mark, so and I can't say
I appreciate it.
Andy is, I mean, she's amazing.
Well, she doesn't count. She's an alien. She's from another planet.
True. She is. It's a good planet, though.
All right.
But no, I you know, like I said, I have to thank you for a lot, because just being, you know, the point and the opportunities with my family, and just so people know. And I should ask you before, but the relationship that we have is, you know, I have my own independent warehousing company that we contract with you, but we are one. When somebody comes in here, you know, they don't see, oh, this is, you know, Valley Supply Chain, this is Sling Shot. This is the same thing, which it is. In my mind, it is. I wouldn't do anything different if it was my own company and everything. You know, I treat it as, you know, it wouldn't be any different if it was my kid that I'm doing it for.
Well, and when people do walk into the door, they get helped by your daughter.
Right. And, you know, to me, it's been, you know, one of those, you know, relationships that just, you can't, in business, I haven't run across anything like that to where, you know, it's just seamless. You know, I've seen a lot of different businesses, and most of them haven't been good. You know, there's just a lot of, you know, shit that goes.
Yeah, I remember when you were shipping some of those other things. I was like, you were frustrated sometimes, like just because I think you weren't really like. It didn't seem like you had more involvement than just shipping product for some of those companies. Yeah. And for some of those companies, they were pretty big. They were doing pretty well, and they had multiple warehouses, and you were just another number to them, like, hey, get your shit out kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and I was like, I want to make that disappear. Like, that's what I wanted to make disappear, not necessarily that I wanted to, like, own the whole warehouse necessarily. It was more of that. I was like, yeah, let me see if I can get this headache out of this guy's life, because it will work out better for both of us.
Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, you know, it's like sometimes, you know, especially with the customers that we had, it's frustrating when they want to hire you as a specialized. It would be like somebody hiring, you know, Nsima as a trainer and then creating their own plan. And then when the plan didn't work, they'd come back to you and say, well, what the fuck? You gave me this training plan. And it's like,
I want to eat pasta every night. I don't see what the big deal is. Your program's not working.
Right. So, you know, there's a lot of trust that has to happen. But again, it's finding that right partner and being able to have that trust. And that's when it works. That's when it works. I mean, you know, you guys have always kind of brought me in on decision-making things to where you didn't have to, you know, but you knew by involving me in my company that would probably flush out some shit that would get flushed out before it was a problem. And, you know, that's smart business. That's just smart business. But you can only do that with, you know, a provider or a customer that you really trust. And because what happens too is I've seen people go into that and they trust and do that. And they trusted in a company or a person that didn't really know what the fuck they were doing. And they got, you know, the raw end of it. So it's tricky, but when you can find that right partnership, that's when shit takes off.
How did you know when to shift career jobs? Because didn't you had more of a corporate job, right? I believe you worked for like Dell or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So for some of the guys that are listening that aren't 85 years old,
yes,
some of the young guys that are trying to find their way, trying to find their career, what called to you to kind of do your own thing, and what you were doing for Dell?
So I worked for a company called XL Logistics, and they are a third-party provider to multiple, you know, different businesses. The accounts that I was at was Hewlett-Packard and Agilent Technologies. They spun off to Agilent Technologies. And I had worked with them for maybe 10 years or so, and got a lot of great opportunities, started a bunch of, you know, warehouses and things, got to travel internationally and do some really cool things. But I had 4 kids when I finally decided to leave. I had 4 kids and 1 on the way. So Grafton, who you know, who's Jake's age, he was just basically just a thought. And this is where I have to say, man, my wife is so understanding in that, because I was 35, was leaving, for me, who is, you know, I'd like to say, I finished college. It only took me a year. It took me a year to realize this is not for me. So I'm building from, you know, what I consider not the best background as far as resumes, but I got to a point where within this company, you know, I'd established relationships. I was running multiple distribution centers, and I was making what I thought, for somebody that's 35 with no, you know, real education, you know, I was making 6 figures, and I felt decent about that, you know, that I was able to progress to a point, but I was literally sat down by the VP of our company and told that I'm not going to progress any further. He said, and I'm going to bring in a guy that's got a master's degree, and you're going to basically train him, and all your relationships with the customers, you need to get him established. And
He said it to you that plainly, kind of like in those words?
Yeah, because I basically...
Kind of doing you a favor in a way.
Well, I pushed him on it. He wasn't just coming out and saying it. I'm like, what do I have to do? I have the relationships with the customers. I've got the numbers and the performance, everything dialed in. At that point, that customer, we were making, I think just on the P&Ls that I had, we were making about $3 million profit a year for the company. Well, I had zero support from our company. Mm-hmm. It was basically, here's $3 million profit a year. And they're basically telling me, nah, we're going to, help promote this other guy and do that.
So let me ask this real quick. Was he saying that, like, he wasn't telling you were fired, but he was saying you're not going to progress anymore? This is the best you're going to do
here. Yes. He was basically saying, in so many words, hey, you're tapped out. Unless you want to go back to school, get a master's, then we can talk about maybe moving up corporate. And at that point, our contract was just about up, and we had to re-sign a contract. So me being, my Instagram, too dumb to quit, I'm looking at it going, okay, if I always knew I wanted to have my own company, do my own thing. So at that point, I said, fuck it, I got to make a move. I'm either going to stay here and try and be happy, doing bullshit stuff. It wasn't a challenge. It was easy. I'd already gone through all the headache. I'm like, I got to do something. So our contract was about to be up. I said, fuck it. I am going to not only quit, I'm going to quit, start a company, and bid against my old company for that contract. And I had people on my accounts for Agilent and HP were like, fuck yeah, we'll sign with you. Screw them. I said, I'll save you half right off the bat. Mm-hmm. I said, I'll do it for half. And they're like, oh my God, this is great. Will we keep this? I'm like, yeah, I'll keep the same people. I'll keep the same.
Yeah, I love the pettiness.
I love it. All my managers were like, hell yeah, we'll go with you.
Did you run like any numbers or anything to like?
I ran all the P&Ls for them. I had
what I mean, like to be able to offer half and still run a company, or was that just?
I knew the numbers. If I did nothing but the exact same thing, I would have made $1.5 million profit a year, and they would have paid $1.5 million less. The contract was cost plus, so it was whatever I spend on manpower and that plus a certain percentage. Mm-hmm. So as their business grows and that, so I'm like, well, okay, fine. You're telling me I'm capped out, I'm limited. Fine, I get it. Mm-hmm. I also have not signed an NDA, so fuck you. and I'm going to roll the dice, right? Yeah. That's just me. But on the other hand, I'm going, oh shit. I got 4 kids, young, 1 on the way. I'm 35. I don't really have shit to my name other than, I bought house when I was young and that. But I'm like, fuck. All right. So fucking time to grind. Yeah. And, luckily I had, enough, savings and things to where I could kind of just scrap along. And it was one of those times in my life I'm like, I got to fucking do it now or I'm not going to do it. Mm-hmm. And it was, 3-4 years of fucking grinding to not lose the house, to keep, the kids fed, to, it's like I always, people are like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm like, really? Do you? Do you? Because unless you're willing to fucking drive, a 1985, Jeep that will barely fucking run and searching for goddamn change out of the back seat to buy some beef jerky for lunch, you don't fucking want to be an entrepreneur. You want this success. You want all the benefits of an entrepreneur, but you don't want to put in the work. And sometimes I think you have to put yourself into that grind mindset to be able to do it. I should have done it when I was younger, right? It would have been probably easier. You know, that's why, you know, a lot of times talking with Kenny and stuff, I'm like, man, the only thing I could say is when you're young, take the fucking chances when you're young because there's less room to fall. I'm like, it's easier. What's the fucking worst case that happens when you're young and you're living at home? What? Your parents gonna kick you out? Well, maybe, but it's a whole lot less to risk.
Yeah.
And, you know, and luckily, you know, I was just like, what's my option? Not grind? Not figure it out? So, you know, we just took on a lot of different customers to try and make it work and kept going. And, you know, I brought on some customers that started to pay off, you know. Okay, shit, I can pay myself, you know, after a year of not paying myself. You know, okay, you know, this is good. And then we were kind of getting to a point where it was like, all right, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I can't see how I'm going to make millions of dollars at this, but I can see that I can sustain. And at that point, that was kind of when, you know, we met. And I'm like, okay, I can sustain. And now I see a company that I really want to help with the skill sets that I had and I had learned through corporate and everything else. I'm like, it was almost like another double middle finger to, you know, the companies I was working with before. It was like, you know what, fuck you. You wouldn't help this guy out. You know, you wouldn't even give him a meeting because, you know, he wasn't there. It was like, no, that's the company that needs that help to jumpstart, to make something and to do something. Not that you couldn't on your own. It's just if I can take a company like that and help them skip a lot of the painful steps to be successful quicker, you know, it's like quick gains in the gym, right? You get a couple gains, get you fired up. You're like, fuck yeah, I can do this. Well, if you never saw any gains for 2 years, a lot of people just quit. You know, you got to see some quick gains. But anyway, so to finish the story on the bidding, so I bid against them. We got to the final point, and this is where big business stepped in. They said, we want to give you this contract. Everyone from their side wanted to give it to us. Corporate lawyers stepped in at the last minute and said, can't do it.
Why?
You haven't been in business for 3 years. And their corporate rules are such that they can't contract with anyone, even though they would save $1.5 million for doing that. No change, no disruption. And that's where I'm like, fucking big businesses suck. They fucking suck. You know, from both sides. It's like, it would have saved them so much money. But yes, there's a little risk, obviously. Yeah. There is a risk. They're not willing to take that. So then it was grind, you know, and it's still a grind. You know, every day is a fucking grind. You know, and that's kind of going back to the whole mindset thing. If you're not grinding every fucking day, what are you doing? You're just letting something happen to you. Good or bad. Might be a good day. More than likely, it's probably not. Probably shit's going to go south. But, you know, that's just the mindset I think that you got to have. It's like, plus, it's like, I want to enjoy every fucking day. Yeah. You know, I don't work out to feel like shit. I work out every day to feel good. Yeah. It's like, I want to fucking feel good.
We'll never stop talking to you guys about how important your sleep quality is and how it can help speed up your health and fitness, your fat loss, your life goals. That's why we've been partnered with and sleeping on 8 Sleep mattresses for so long now. And right now is one of the best times you can get yourself the Pod Pro cover or the Pod Pro mattress because they're having their Memorial Day sale. So 8 Sleep mattresses have amazing technology to cool down your bed as low as 55 degrees. Your side can be a certain temperature, your partner's side can be a certain temperature, and they also have an app that allows you to see your heart rate variability, your heart rate, your tosses and turns, all of these different metrics to help improve your sleep night by night. It It is literally the Tesla of beds. And our sleep has been transformed because of it. We and myself used to wake up in a puddle of our own sweat, and now with the 8 Sleep mattress every single night is blissful. Head to 8sleep.com/power project for exclusive Memorial Day savings on the Pod Pro cover or the Pod Pro mattress through June 6th. Stay cool this summer with 8 Sleep, shipping the US, Canada, and all those good places. Link in the description down below.
You've been lifting for a long time, right? You started probably, what, in high school or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, we'd always, lifted weights. Probably, well, my dad had one weight set when we were kids. It was an old, like, Sears and Roebuck. They were purple. I remember them this day. They were purple, and they're filled with either sand or cement or something. And it was like 100 pounds. We had one bar, and it was that. And this is the only time I can ever see my dad doing any fucking thing. He could take that one-handed, right, and do the old strongman thing up above the head. That was it. He didn't fucking touch it. But we as kids, right, would get out there doing what we could, whatever we could do with it. But so there was always kind of that around. And my family, I come from a family of 12 kids, and nine of them were boys.
That just computed. That just hit.
Yeah. Siblings.
Yeah.
Whoa. Wow.
I first met him, I was like, where do you guys have family gatherings? At like Arco Arena?
Yeah. It's like, I think, honestly, I swear to God, I think our family's only all been together twice, I think.
How many
Once
people
or
do you
twice.
think it is? Like,
like extended? I have no fucking clue. I swear to God, I have no idea.
Yeah, most of your brothers and sisters probably have children as well, right?
Oh, yeah. All of them.
Well, there you go.
All of them.
Multiply that up a bunch of times.
Bad math problem. It's a bad math problem. But yeah, so we just
Always been involved in sports and stuff like that.
yeah,
too?
it was 7 boys in a row. So it was, oh shit.
This is great, though.
Da-da-da.
It's like, oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
Dude, this is amazing.
It's awesome. He's hitting the speed bag while he's on this like balance board thing.
yo.
It's all the toys out there in your great gym.
And you've been boxing for how did boxing start? How did you start doing that?
I got into boxing through a friend of mine who was going to Primetime. Shout out to Primetime Boxing, Coach Adrian Diablo. And it was kind of one of those things. I'd always, basically at least 3 days a week, I would plan on going to the gym. I would get into the gym at some point 3 days a week. And I went to, my friends and were like, oh, you would probably like this. And I think that was when I was 40. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of looking for something different to, stay motivated. I'm like, do something different. And it's like, oh, come to boxing. I'm like, fucking never. It was Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, in the morning. I've probably missed a handful of times. It's like, I love it because it's like a great physical challenge. And you can kind of go at, your own pace.
Yeah.
But I'm learning something too. I'm like, I love learning. I hate fucking school, but I love learning. And it was just one of those things where even today, this morning I went, it's like, it's just a great way to start the day. But so I've taken that since I was 40 and kind of been like, that's my base. So if I go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I feel like that's a decent base to where I can kind of maintain. So then it's just filling in, where I can make, gains, because I still want to improve. It's like I still want to get stronger. I still want to get more flexible. I still want to be able to do all the hobbies and different things I do. But it's a great base. I mean, we don't spar that much these days. Like, I need all the brain cells I've got.
Yeah.
But
dude, what's really cool about this is like you shifted jobs at 35 years old with 4 kids and 1 on the way, and then you start boxing at 40.
Yeah.
And the dope thing is like you weren't older by any means, but like you were starting these things later.
Oh yeah.
Right? Where people are like, if they're 40, they're like, it's too late for me to start something like boxing.
Yeah.
Fucking boxing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what made you even go down that route specific? Because that's a lot.
I don't know. I like a challenge. I like a challenge, and I like actually someone saying, well, fuck, you can't do that. Well, fucking game on. You know, to me, I like that. I mean, I kind of got into big game hunting that way. You know, a friend of mine who's, you know, works with Kuyu, Patrick Merrick, guy's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But we were sitting at one of our kids' Little League games, and he was talking about a hunt coming up, and he's like, yeah, you know, he solo hunts a lot.
Is that a head? Is that a head?
Yeah. That's an elk I'm packing out.
Okay, damn.
Yeah. And Patrick was like, he's like, oh, well, you know, I'm going to, you know, mule deer hunt in, you know, in a month or two. It's like, why don't you come with me? It's kind of a joke. I'm like, all right. And he's like, no, seriously, we got to pack in and that. He's like, oh, and I didn't mention it was, you know, bow hunting. I'm like, all right. He's like, well, do you have a bow? I'm like, when I was 12, I think I had a bow. And he's like, shit. He's like, you would do it? I'm like, fuck yeah, I'd do it.
Yeah.
And so we put together a plan, and Patrick has just dialed out spreadsheets on what to carry and you know, how we make our packs as light as possible. And he's like, oh, I got enough, you know, extra backpacks and stuff. We'll set you up and this. I'm like, fuck yeah. I was so excited because it was a new challenge. It was like, oh, hell yeah. And we went, and it just started kind of a spark, a new thing of hunting. I'd always kind of hunted, bird hunting, stuff like that growing up. But I'm like, shit, yeah, this is awesome. I get the physical side of it. So fast forward, we went to the Ruby Mountains in Nevada, and, you know, you start out where it's like 2,000, you know, vertical climb and about a half a mile, you know, with a 70, 80 pound pack, and gassed. But it was freaking awesome. I mean, and that kind of just fueled a whole new passion for me on, you know, here's another, you know, I got hobbies out the wazoo, but it was like, nah, this is good. It combines the physical part, the mental part, and you know, I didn't even know at that time how tough it was to hunt. Yeah. It was just like, can I make it through this whole, you know, experience? But I mean, honestly, you know, you talk about, how age doesn't matter. It's what I think I want to do. Yeah. Or want to try. And it's like, I don't care. You know, it's the whole too dumb to quit. I'm too dumb to quit. I'm too dumb to stop. You know, it's like. Yeah.
But it's the smartest thing, dog. Like, because again, like with the way you're built right now, I mean, I'm even curious. Do you feel better these days? Do you know if you feel better now than you did when you were a little bit younger? Has anything changed much, or have you just been taking action using your body?
You know, it's interesting. I mean, I think the biggest thing is just, we go back to recovery. I definitely feel that my body doesn't snap back recovery-wise as quick as, you know, when I was younger. Jacked. I have to say, the whole reason I even started that account was to embarrass my kids. And I think it's working. It's working. But yeah, recovery. That I definitely notice. Again, you know, listening to, you know, what you guys talk about on a daily, you know, how to implement certain things, and they're not really hacks. They're just smarter, you know, how to go about it smarter. It's like when I was young, yeah, I knew sleep was good. Yeah, I knew I wanted to sleep, but sometimes when you got 5 kids and work in an hour, sleep doesn't happen. Yeah. But knowing how much of an impact, you know, that takes when you're younger, I think the impact's there, but you can just bounce back from it. To where now it's like I'm so much smarter with my sleep, and you know, the 8 sleep bed. What can I say? You know, where's the plug? You know, I mean, it is. It's a great tool to, you know, not only track your sleep, but just it's just better. It's fucking better. So things like that, just being able to do things smarter. I think as you get older, you have to look at things to be smarter. If you want to keep feeling good and if you want to keep being able to do stuff, I mean, it's like someone who's benched 400 pounds, not me, but if they kept doing that, at what point do they not do that? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, if you did it every month, at what point do you not do it? Let's throw out injury and all that, but at what point could you not do it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I don't think anybody knows. I think that if you send your body a signal, though, it will respond to it. And it will continually respond to it until there's maybe something's wrong, something's off. But if you could, if someone had the capacity to bench press like slightly over 400 pounds, and then they did 400 pounds like once a month, I think they could probably maintain it for a really long time.
Yeah.
Depend a lot on their structure and their body type. And we just saw a guy the other day run 14 seconds in the 100 meters. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, I saw that. He's like 75 or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a couple other. The guys in the heat all did amazing too. It's not a couple guys are quite a bit behind this guy, but there's some other guys that are finishing second, third, and fourth that are looking pretty good too. It's 100 meters is way tougher than people remember it.
Mm-hmm.
Go out on a track and go check out 100 meters. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot to get yourself at like a full sprint. Even the elite guys, the 100 meter is a race of trying to decelerate the least, because everyone can get up to some crazy top speeds.
Right.
All of them can run really, really fast. It's a battle at the end of not slowing down. It's like an illusion when you see Usain Bolt, blast past everybody.
Right.
He's not really necessarily running past them. He's just he's decelerating less than everybody else.
Yeah.
Which is a weird thing to think about. But 100 meters is hard, and for somebody to do it in 15 seconds or under 15 seconds at 75.
That's crazy.
He was booking it. I think Andrew's got it. This was...
Jesus. He really pulled away from those guys.
Look at this man. What the hell? But they're all moving well, like you mentioned, man.
Oh, they stopped filming the shit, pan back, and about half of them are pulled up with a hammy. Got me.
What's really cool, actually, I was just thinking about this because after Peter Attia or whatever has been talking about it, there's been a lot of people that have been like, really like, how do you increase your bone density? Because as you get older, that goes down. But something like, you don't even have to go box and spar with people, but if you can just learn some stuff and hit a heavy bag, that constant, even when I'm thinking about that right now, I'm like, I need to actually just be hitting a heavy bag more, because that's just benefiting you in so many ways,
Yep. Yeah. To me, it's like, even if I, had a week off, I went hunting or something, I came back and I'm hitting the heavy bag. Ooh, shit. You feel it because, you get used to it on a good side, doing it all the time. But then when you take a layoff, you're like, I think you lose things a lot sooner than, especially when you were young.
Kind of curious about this because I personally don't know. Like, you started boxing at 40. How do you keep it part of your life, but also keep it safe? You mentioned you obviously don't spar as much.
Yeah.
So you just go in and you train with a bag?
Yeah. So, basically it's, it's basically like a 45-minute to an hour class. We do it 3 days a week. So first thing in the morning, and I hated working out in the morning, but that was my only time that I could do it that fit with work and kids.
Yeah.
It's like, I got to get that in. And it's kind of, it's funny. It's like, there's a lot of things I see in CrossFit. I've never really done CrossFit at all, but I think a lot of things training wise in CrossFit were probably taken from boxing is my guess.
Yeah. Boxing and military and stuff like that. Yeah.
So it's kind of like an all over good body workout, but and I like to throw mitts, so you can get mitt work in and kind of get the sparring feel and things without taking headshots. It's kind of like, I don't know, in jiu-jitsu, I've never done that either, but it's, I can imagine it'd be kind of, light flow rolling or something with someone that it's not, you're kind of both on the same page. It's not a guy trying to choke you out and,
Yeah. Okay.
That would be
class is hard. I've been to a bunch of them. It's brutal.
Yeah.
You're doing stuff that you just can't even really make any sense of. Like, you'll do a bunch of like curls, and then you'll do like a bunch of like, say like upright rows, and then you like hit the bag.
Oh,
and it's like circuits.
So it's
not all
that.
the classes are that way, but and obviously for someone that might be training for a fight or something, have something way more targeted than that style of training. But it's hard because you're like, I can barely hold my hands up, much less like throw good combinations. Or you might say, hey, 30 seconds, go all out, go as fast as you can. And you're trying to do that, but you just did a bunch of curls and a bunch of other exercises. So it's really demanding.
Yeah, it's every class basically starts out with jump rope for about 5 minutes. So you jump rope, which is a great warm up, just kind of get things flowing.
Yeah.
Then there'll be, hit the heavy bag for a while, throw in the speed bag sometimes. But then it's just a lot of like circuit training, like Mark was saying, you'll do ab rollouts, move the next one. You're doing crunches, move the next one. You're doing up downs, move the next one. You might be slamming a tire with a hammer. I mean, and it's just kind of mixes but it seems like even though there's a lot of similarities on all the things you do, it's always different.
Yeah.
You have some consistent things, which is good, but then it kind of change. So it keeps you, kind of the mind moving. Yeah. So I like it. Back to weightlifting stuff you were asking. I never finished it off. Like when I started, the first time I could really say that I started lifting weights was probably when I was about 13. So I'd played sports, young age. Most of it was baseball. My dad was a big baseball guy. It's like, well, what do you play? We play baseball. It's like, jeez, all right. And I was decent at baseball, but I didn't really like it. But all of our kids, I mean, shit, it's like nowadays, it's like I've coached the kids in baseball and stuff. Well, how was it when you were, back in 1920? It's like, well, it was a little bit different. It was like we didn't give out trophies for everybody. You actually kind of had to win. But I'm like, well, what'd you do when I'm like, well, we didn't lose. I'm like, I lost one game in Little League. One game. And it was a fucking championship game, and it still haunts me.
It's kind of hilarious. I wasn't a loser like you kids.
Yeah.
God.
But it's like, and I was actually small. I was small.
Yeah.
But I was always the fastest. I'm like, no one's gonna fucking outrun me. I'm like, I might not be that big, but I'm gonna be fast. I could throw the ball okay. And, pitch and do that stuff. And then when I was 8th grade, so just starting 8th grade. So this is kind of a gross story, but I'll tell you anyway. So when we're going into 8th grade, we're in the gym locker room. I don't know if it was the same way. Mark might remember it. You're in the locker room. You're waiting to get your locker assigned. And you have to go up into the PE instructor's office there. So we're standing there waiting. And I don't know if you remember in the gyms and stuff, you have big, thick-ass doors. Like heavy doors. Not like, little pussy doors now.
Even the doors.
The door. They're a door. They're solid. They're solid.
You doors today, you guys ain't shit.
There wasn't sandals hanging from them or anything. So we're standing there, and the doors open, and I've got my hand up like this on the door jamb, and I'm talking to a buddy, and he's like, hey, and they started to close the door, and I didn't realize my thumb's in the door jamb. And the door just keeps closing, and I'm watching my thumb stuck in the door jamb, and just pops off. So the end of my thumb, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like the end of my thumb went on the other side of the door, and it's just going bloop. It looked like a comedy, just bloop, bloop.
No.
And I'm like, oh, that's a problem. And so I go into the sink, and and it just looks like a fucking murder scene in there. And I'm putting paper towels, and the kids are screaming, ah! You're banging on the door, And the PE teacher yanks it up and he's like, what? I'm like, can I have my thumb? And his face just goes white and he starts to buckle.
So it's not like it just like it like came off.
So the end of
a chunk of it.
Yeah,
I could see kind of.
So like now when it happened, it was basically right at the fingernail line. So right there was like, imagine your thumb with no fingernail.
For the past few years, I looked at your thumb. I was like, "What the fuck is?" No, I'm
fucked
joking.
up, dude.
I never even noticed. I never noticed.
But it was one of those things where I'm like, "Oh fuck." So anyway, fast forward. The reason I even tell you that is because it's what kind of got me into lifting more. So anyway, long story short on that, I had to take it, sit in the office for about an hour before they took me to the hospital to sew it back on, and. So then I'm like, this is fucking awful. But, all I did was play sports with my right hand.
Yeah.
I couldn't throw a baseball. I couldn't throw a football. Oh. So I'm like, all the shit that I could that was my only somewhat strong point, I thought, I couldn't do it for a little fucking thumb problem. So it turns out the surgeon that did it, he was... into weightlifting, and he was fucking looked like Franco Columbo. I mean, and we were talking, and I'm just sitting there as a fucking 13-year-old kid going, I'm fucked. I can't do anything that I love. Mm-hmm. He's like, well, do you lift weights? I'm like, I do pull-ups and push-ups and shit. And he's like, well, you can do that, can't you? I'm like, yeah, I guess. Yeah. He's like, you don't need to throw those. And I'm like, all right. So then the last part of the story, which is worse, was so getting it sewed back on, I thought was the worst. And you have to change the dressing and all that. Mm-hmm. Going back in, the thumb didn't take. They had waited too long. They'd put it on ice, right? And now it's like they tell you, it's like, no. If you ever happen something like that, God forbid with your kid or something, they say put it right back on and hold it there so that the blood flow and stuff is still part of it, because basically by putting on ice, just killed it.
Wow. Still see that shit in movies though.
Well, it's movies.
Fucking wrong.
Why are they?
Maybe with an organ or something, but yeah. So anyway, I go back in and he's like, looks at it and he goes, yeah, it's not healing well because it was just kind of black and dead on there. He's like, give me your hand. I give him my hand. He locks it under his arm. He's like, this is going to hurt worse than it did.
Oh, no.
And he cuts off the
What
dead
the
part.
fuck?
He cuts it off. And he's like,
doctors weren't pussies back then.
No, everyone was just stronger.
Everyone
was better.
And he was not kidding, because that fucking hurt worse than the first thing. And but it's like it actually, I looked back on it like, when did I start? It was after that, and he would just like, it's like, you can fucking you can lift. And so I started lifting more, and it's like. That was kind of when I started, like, I can actually go back and go, yeah, that's when I was, really started lifting, when the doctor called me out for being a pussy.
Damn. When did you start running, and what's that for? Why are you running?
I hated running. I hated running. And it was always a punishment in every sport I played. Fucking hated it. My father-in-law, actually, he was, I don't even know how old he was at the time, probably 60, 65. And he was running 5Ks, 10Ks, always in great shape, fucking great shape. He's like, oh, hey, why don't you come run a 5K with me? And I'm like, I guess, And I went out and ran it. I'm like, fuck, that was harder than it should have been. But I kind of liked it. And I'm like, okay, well, obviously he knows something about longevity. He's in great shape. He can run, nonstop. I'm like, I better start introducing some of the running in. And I did. And there was times where, I ran a lot more than than I do now. And, I'd take a break. But I was always physically active doing some sport that was running. But now I try and get in like 2-mile run a day. If I can get that in 5-6 days a week, I feel, pretty good. But, if I was training for something longer, I'd have to put in some more miles. But for maintenance wise, I feel like I can still get some sprints in, still kind of maintain and not lose a ton.
Do you have a path that you hit up regularly that's just like when you're heading home from here, or how?
Yeah, I've got out in front of my house. There's a levee that goes out for miles. Actually, you can run it all the way to Winters. But it's like the loop that I run is go a mile out, mile back, and then sometimes
you just got to commit to that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and I really get to the point at the end of the day where I'm like, fuck, just kind of a good go home, after I've gotten in work and a lift, and
boxing.
But then I'll go home and I feel like it's a good end of my day.
Yeah.
I just kind of, all right, it feels good. Some days, it's harder than others, but most of the time I really look forward to it. It's hard with the bad weather. The levee gets all muddy into that. But again, that's just excuses. Got to find a way to get that in, without that.
Power Project Family, we talk about beef and meat all the time on the podcast. That's why we've partnered with Certified Piedmontese Beef. But did you know this? That 85% of all grass-fed, grass-finished beef in the United States is imported from other countries? 85%.
Damn.
But Certified Piedmontese is made in the U.S. of A.
America.
Fuck yeah. So go out and get some of the best tasting, some of the leanest, some of the best beef from Piedmontese. Andrew, how can they get it?
Absolutely. So you guys can head over to cpbeef.com and at checkout enter promo code POWER to save 25% off your entire order. And if your order is $150 or more, you get free 2-day shipping. Again, cpbeef.com. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
Fuck yeah. Dude, what does your steps usually say at the end of each day?
I don't know.
You never take a look at it?
I look at it sometimes. It's always over 10, 15.
Yeah.
But I've had days, actually the highest ones were elk hunting, up and down elevations.
Jesus. That's gonna be brutal.
I actually had it shit out on me. It just like stopped. Like I got a Garmin, I got a Whoop.
Yeah.
They just kind of,
They just say straight nines all across.
Yeah.
What you got over there, Andrew?
So another thing, maybe get you a little riled up again. But,
give me.
You've called the three of us on maybe different occasions a bunch of pussies again. When it comes to this topic,
come on.
Something I preach on this podcast often and in person also when people are talking to me. And then if I see it on Instagram, I'll reshare it. And that's where the DM will come in where you're, I'll lay it out here. But basically, people always want to talk about like getting in shape, but it's like, oh, I can't give up my drinking. So like I will often, promote stuff that says like, hey, if you want this, you kind of have to give that up.
Yeah.
And then the DM, I'll probably find it eventually, but it's Cassey being like, yeah, if you're a pussy. So for yourself, I mean, like, really quick, just a quick story about me and Smokey. I remember telling Smokey one day, like, yeah, if I could look half as jacked as Cassey at his age, I'll be stoked. And he's like, understand this right now. That's not going to happen. And I'm like, thanks, Smokey. I appreciate that. But no, so like I said, like I look up to you a lot. You're in amazing shape. But you drink and you have fun, to a certain extent. So like, how do you keep that in check?
Yeah.
How do you keep that in check? Yeah.
So that's interesting because, I grew up in a household that was very strict Mormon. It was like, no, nothing, no drinking, and it was like, I mean, shit, we couldn't even go outside on Sundays. They wouldn't let us. It was
no
inside.
sunlight.
No, it was inside with the family. It was like no physical, no. And so when I was younger, I basically, had friends that were not Mormon, but we drank, but it was never like, I mean, shit. These days it's just so much different with all the different shit that's out there. But basically it was beer. Light beer.
It's Bud Light or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically it was like, you can still, man, and I think that you can. I mean, first of all, let me say it's better if you fucking don't. This is what I.
Why are you
always,
changing your tune now?
Hey, I'm just telling
He's
you.
gonna be wearing sandals in no time.
There you go.
You guys are getting me all loose in here. You guys drugged me. I've been Cosby'd. I've been Cosby'd. Oh, fuck. How come I'm just feeling a little weird?
Yeah, we spiked your water.
Yes.
This is his first podcast.
Yeah. God damn it. I knew the initiation was going to be hard.
You can't cancel the uncancelable.
That's true. Yeah,
There you go.
Mark's raised to 0 followers. Yeah. Getting me on the. This is not like the Huberman lab. This is like the Scooby Dooberman lab with me.
That's perfect.
So yeah, drinking. It's like I tell my kids. I'm like, it's better if you don't. You know, honestly, it's like, it's just better if you don't.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do it,
Here we go.
I would say, you know, and this was my thing to him. I'm like, first of all, be in a situation that's smart. You know that someone's going to drive you home. You got a way home. Said, I don't want you to drink. If you ever do and you need a ride, fucking call me. I'm not going to be pissed about that. I'm going to be pissed about the fact that you drove home or had somebody drive you home. That's when I'm going to be pissed. And, you know, all my kids, I mean, they were pretty, you know, good. They just never really got into much of that. You know, I would tell them all the horror stories that I had growing up. So it was like, you know, they're like, oh, fuck, we don't want to be like Dad. Mm-hmm. And I think for the most part, it's kind of like if you avoid hard alcohol, if you avoid, you know, hard drugs, it's like you can find a way to manage. You know, you don't have to, you know, it's how many guys drink themselves, you know, into the hospital by drinking beer? Most of the time, it's in combination with something else, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard alcohol. It's hard. You're going to get bloated and sick more than you're going to really get into, you know, a situation like that. Yeah. So I'm like, you know, if you can have, you know, 5-6 light beers and feel fine, I wouldn't even drink one fucking beer of that piss, you know, stuff, the IPAs.
Oh, you're not an IPA
fan? That's like eating a loaf of bread. It's like, I don't get it.
But you don't like the dirt taste that you get to chew on?
Yes, I like piss. Like, what are you thinking? I'm like,
aren't IPAs classier though?
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I would say they're more like what's like hipsterish maybe, or like maybe not hipsters.
Fancy.
Just I don't know, want to be connoisseurs of beer or whatever.
Yeah, it's called idiots. I'm like,
yeah,
come on. If you want to have, you know, and everyone, light beer is just like water. Yeah, no shit. Like, okay, you know, it's easy to drink. It tastes good. You like what? Simply
watermelon.
Simply watermelon, right? Yeah. Why? Because it tastes like an IPA? Fuck no. Because it tastes good.
It tastes good.
Right? You like what you like.
Plus, I think
it tastes good.
I think your light beer thing also has because it's way more liquid, right? Potentially less calories, fills you up more. Less. So, right? Maybe that's why you're filled.
Well, look at the ingredients on most of it: water, rice, hops.
Health product.
Put a little heart healthy label on that.
Yeah. And it, you know, it tastes better. Yeah. That's like, you know, they're not Element's not a sponsor, right?
Nope.
No.
Yeah. Just your stuff. So your product tastes good, right? The fruit punch one, especially. Yeah. LMNT. You know what that stands for?
I don't know.
Lick my nut taste. because that,
a little too salty.
That shit's salty. A little salty.
I like it.
Yeah, well, that's good. You probably like IPAs too.
I kind of do.
My porn of chocolate.
It's true. I mean, you did hit the nail on the head twice. I do kind of like IPAs.
Okay. We'll just leave it right there.
So if somebody wants to be in shape and they want to drink, all they have to do is wake up at 5 o'clock every morning?
Yeah, 5:30.
Box for like 2 hours, then work in a warehouse and get a lot of steps in while you have a 20-pound vest on. Yeah. Then on your way home, when you're feeling like a pussy, don't forget to not be a pussy and go on a run, finish off your day, then go home and enjoy some beer.
Yeah, but you forgot a workout though.
Oh, I forgot about lifting. Yeah, you got to lift at super training.
And then go home and run. And then eat.
What do you eat?
So in the morning, Andrew, you'll like this one. So in the morning, I've got chickens, right?
Hell yeah.
So I get fresh eggs every morning.
Nice.
So I usually eat 5 to 6, depending upon what they produce, but most days it's 6.
They lay eggs every day?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah. Except for like wintertime, they slow down a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, 6 eggs every morning. And then I'll take whatever, vitamins and shit after that. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there's the ladies. Keep producing, girls.
Yeah. Quit being lazy. What do you feed them just regular feed, or do you go like above and like get like worms and shit?
They like that for like a treat, but it's like, the regular feed and then just table scraps.
Compost, right?
Yeah, table scraps, and they like those little worms, those mealworms.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was the goat, the chicken palace. But so I eat that, and then most days, I'll bring like an orange or something, and then like elk jerky that I have a lot.
That you make yourself.
Yeah,
that's really good. I had it before.
And so I'll have that kind of during the day. I'll drink usually like a fruit punch, hydro with that. And then I usually won't eat until I get home. And then
tell us a story about this weight vest, because I think this is pretty funny.
Oh, this one?
Mm-hmm. This is what happens when you go cheap, people.
Yeah, this is for the consumers out there. So, I was looking at a weight vest just because I'm like, I can wear a weight vest all day and I won't be a pussy, So I'm like, that's a little extra work that will cost me nothing. And why not? So I go onto Amazon, right? And I'd heard Nsima talking about, like the Rogue one before. And I'm like, all right, I'll check it out. Go to Amazon, out of stock. I'm like, okay, expected delivery like 2 weeks. Fuck that. I don't like waiting around.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's 2 weeks that I could have had a weight vest wearing that I didn't. So I got this one, which I think it it looked like the Rogue one. So
it looks similar.
Fuck it. Yeah. It's in stock. Get the plates. Cool. Get it the next day. Start wearing it. Feels pretty good. And about a week or two ago, Nsima was like, he's like, is that the Rogue vest? I'm like, nah, it's a different one I bought off Amazon. He's like, you should try mine out. Fucking try his out. He's like, I just wear it for a day. I wear it, and I'm like, God damn it. Damn it. And he's like, what? He's like, I fucked up. He's like, why? And I'm like, because yours is better. I'm like, the fucking Rogue one was better. I'm like, it doesn't pinch on my shoulder. I'm like, God damn it. Me and my not able to wait for 2 weeks. Now I'm stuck with a weight vest that I should have waited the 2 weeks. But then again, I got 2 weeks worth of gains on you, motherfucker.
That's true.
But also, you don't want it to be too comfortable, because then, you want to lean into it, right?
No, that's wrong. That's where you get it wrong. So you want that to be comfortable so that you lean into it harder and you're looking for more plates.
Yeah.
Got it.
More plates. And it only holds like 35 pounds. What can yours hold? You don't know, do you?
I don't know.
That's my point. That's my point.
Andrew, take us on out of here, buddy.
Thank you, everybody, for checking out today's episode. Please drop those comments down below. Let us know what you guys think about this conversation. Hit the like button and subscribe. Follow the podcast at MB Power Project all over the place. My Instagram is at I am Andrew Z. Nsima, where are you at?
Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube, and Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Hit up the Discord. It's down below. Cassey, where can people find you?
In the warehouse. Or working out or wearing a weight vest. On Instagram, if you want to really embarrass my kids. Too dumb to quit. There we go. Yeah.
Listen to your body and then immediately tell it to fuck off.
Yeah,
that's real.
That is real.
I'm at Mark Smelly Bell. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.